Louisiana Country Music Live. We have a Louisiana-raised artist now based in Nashville, bringing a sound that blends folk rock and roll grit, cinematic storytelling, and that unmistakable country soul. He grew up on a crawfish farm in central Louisiana, and you can hear those French-Cajun roots show up in the phrases, places, and details woven into the songs. His debut album, Hollier, helped put him on the map, and then he built a full touring band that has been turning heads with a live show built for big stages. They've hit major rooms and festivals, and they've shared the bill with artists like Red Clay Strays, Randy Rogers Band, the Cadillac 3, and Flatland Cavalry. The momentum is real, and new music is rolling out with recent singles like Somewhere Down the Road, If She's Lonely, and Can't Say No Tonight, leading into a brand new album, Rainmaker, coming in March. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. John Hollier.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
Good.
Alex, I was going to say, Alex is supposed to give you an applause right there. There it goes. Do it again, Alex.
I heard it. I felt it through the ether.
Give the man the proper applause. Come on.
That's right.
How are you?
We'll throw a track in there. We'll throw some applause in there.
Oh, man.
I'm good, man. Excited to be here. Thank you all for having me. Really, really, truly. Thank you all.
Well, thank you for joining us, man. I see some writers and some artists over here. Dustin Saunier just popped in from Lafayette area. I don't know if you know Dustin. He's been over there a long time, but he's just down the road from you there. Judy says Pennsylvania fans that happen to be sitting in NOLA at the moment. So
nice. Like, Judy and Mike.
Nice,
hello.
Bro.
Judy and Mike had
yes,
a
indeed, man. Yes, indeed. And then Alex that we met at fairs and festivals. Give him another one. That's what I'm talking about, Alex. So, man, I heard that I read that you grew up on a crawfish farm. So the natural first question that I have to ask is, do you have a hookup for us?
Man, not anymore. It didn't put out as much crawfish as it did. I thought that probably would be the best business strategy and make more money than music would just be driving crawfish from central Louisiana up to Nashville. Charging by the pound, $30 a pound. But yeah, the crawfish, it's kind of taking a dip, man. I think my pops, our manager's asking us to go back to central Louisiana and do some fishing. I think we might throw the saxophone on the front of the boat and see if that moves any TikTok numbers. Hopefully we can bag a few crawfish too, but
you got to do what you got to do on TikTok these days, don't you?
Absolutely. And throw in a crawfish boat and everyone's watching,
Oh man. Well, man, I've heard a lot about you through Alex, but never really officially met you until tonight. So I guess before we get into the music stuff, tell us all a little bit about John Hollier, the person.
Yeah, John Hollier, the person. So grew up in central Louisiana. My dreams as a kid were to play baseball for LSU. And that all changed when I got a guitar, and I self-taught. So that was probably, something I had to really relearn a lot of technique. There was no place to get guitar lessons besides YouTube. So, just had to learn through the internet. And I realized quickly when I moved to Nashville, I was like, I am not up to speed on my guitar, but my musicianship. So, kind of classic central Louisiana, love LSU. My pops has 2 25-acre crawfish farms that a couple of families all kind of are in on. And I spent so much time in, junior high and high school working with my brothers and my dad, a lot of fond memories there. So moved to Nashville. I wanted to play lead guitar. I liked writing songs, but that my heart was there as a guitar player. And I had been playing in Louisiana with a guy named Josh Blakesley. And that's kind of where I got the live itch, to play music, not just in the garage with my brothers or my friends. Mm-hmm. It's like I got to real taste of professional. I think it's a testament to central Louisiana how good that band was. So I was 19 and got to go coast to coast and play some shows with those guys. I was playing bass. I wasn't quite up to speed yet on electric guitar, but moved to Nashville with a lot of live show experience. So that I'd say like that was what I really took from Louisiana was I got to play with a lot of Louisiana guys, and it kind of gave me an edge when I first showed up. It kind of all came out even out, later, but. Yeah, that's the story. Been in Nashville a while now, and so just trying to, songwriting is definitely my day to day now. I don't step on the solo boost pedal as much, anymore these days. But
well, we're gonna dive in. We're gonna dive into the music and to Nashville here in a little bit. Your website talks about your family's French-Cajun roots, and man, when I listen to your sound, you've got quite a bit of genres in your sound, I guess. So what was your music upbringing like when, kind of your influential days, I guess?
All rock music. I'd say rock was pretty much down the middle. Like my dad's family's from Ville Platte, Mamou. So not a very big musical family. So I didn't take a lot of music influence from them, but very much food and culture and immense, grandparents barely spoke English. So my dad's accent is very thick. He was a first, language Cajun. He spoke up until about first grade. He spoke only Cajun French. So like that culture is like very deep. Like those roots run very deep. My mom's side, she's from Arnaville, and so very much a musical family, high spirit, big storytelling. So I took a lot from that side of the family as well. And so that would be, trying to tell the story of John Hollier. I think I have to lean into both of those cities. I didn't live in Ville Platte or Arnaville, but spent, a lot of my childhood, in the Arnaville area, specifically,
So if they weren't into music and all of that, what kind of got you into it as far as playing?
My uncle played a lot, so I got to sit in with him. He was still is an excellent lead guitar player, and he was playing with a guy named Danny Collette at the time out in Lafayette, and I got to sit in with him and realized really quick I was like, I'm just going to play chords in the back, and I kind of watched him grow his career, I can't think of the name of the band at the time, but I got to sit in with him as well. My cousin was the accordion player, Seth Fontenot, who's passed away, but learning from those guys how to play, the times I would be around them. So my mom's side of family was definitely very musical. And so and not as much country music. I'd say that has been country. I love country music, especially living in Nashville. But I definitely had to learn country music, specifically all the stuff that my grandparents would listen to and my mom. It was all Cajun music. And I didn't particularly have an affinity for it at the time because I would either have to learn it to play it, and I wasn't streaming it or listening on CDs to country, Cajun albums. But now that I'm looking back on it and trying to dive a little bit deeper into what I'm trying to say as an artist, like I'm definitely pulling a lot of nostalgia out of that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Dustin Sonia in the comments, he says I used to play with Danny too. LOL.
Oh, my uncle's Goo, Leonard Olivier. So I don't know if you know Goo.
He probably does, man. He knows all those guys down there. Is he from the Lafayette area?
Oh, Goo lives in Arnaville. So yeah, I bet y'all play with each other. So I'm sure y'all played gigs,
Small, man, small world, but Louisiana's even smaller. So what made you talked about moving to Nashville and all of that. So what made you decide to take that leap? You're going from a high school band and all that and make that jump to Nashville.
I think it was just being around music for so long. It felt like the natural progression. Like I played about as much as my skills would take me as a guitar player. And I'm thankful for that because I think it opened some doors, you know, but I definitely started hitting a ceiling with the type of gigs. I sat in with Carly Pierce for a while when she had a number one. And I was around for, you know, I was basically holding the gig while someone else was wrapping up their gig. You know, it's like that project started blowing up. So they had a really good guitar player. So I sat in with them while I watched her career like really blossom. And I realized really quickly I you know, I had a lot to work on if I was going to take a really sleek, like very much a perfect, you know, it's not going to be this raw run all over the stage, make a lot of mistakes and have like, it was a performer's gig. And that was the eye-opening experience. That was about 2018. That was when I realized, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a gig like this. And it was a lot of work. And I started that avenue of like, well, let me go play some shows by myself. Really started bombing, you know, those writer rooms in Nashville are intense, but I slowly learned how to keep up, you know, and that was, you know, I was making recordings in the bedroom, had buddies come over and record drums in the bedroom. And it was really fun. And I think that's the big word. It was fun. And, you know, it didn't really turn into a job till several years later. But that was for me. I had a deep well of experience of playing live music, and I've watched a lot of people do it at a high level. And I learned. I took a lot of that with me.
Yeah, yeah, those write rooms can be intense, man. There's nowhere to hide, is it?
Nowhere to hide. Nowhere to hide. And in Nashville, you know, it's not that everyone's great. It's just like most people are really good. You know, and so it's like if you're like, oh, I just wrote this song, it's like, well, you better be exceptionally talented, or you better be ready. Like, this is probably going to be, it's going to be quiet. You know, quiet.
So you released some singles. It looked like you released some singles a while back, but your first album, I guess, was Hollier, and that was released in 2023. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So I recorded that one with Eric Massey here in town, and that was an expensive record for me, coming from, you know, doing everything yourself to I'm gonna do a big boy record. And I recorded 2 songs with Eric, and I sent them around. I sent them to I had a friend at Red Light Management, and I sent them to him, and he passed it off to, it's all country there. None of this was country, but he passed it off to some of their rock managers. And they didn't pick it up, but they also gave me some advice on some people outside of Nashville that I should start sending this to. And that's when I got 7S Management in Denver. I had sent them from the Red Light guys, were like, hey, this used to be the Red Light office. It's now a new thing. Send this to these guys. And one of the managers said, hey, go back to Eric when you're ready and do a whole album and send it back to me. And I did. And I remember him texting me. It was really late. And I was like, man, this guy's up, you know? And he was texting me. He's like, let's do it. Let's work together. And that's where that process started for me, is like, okay, 2023. It's like, it looks like I'm starting to build a real team here.
So what was interesting to me is, you know, when I saw 2023 was your first full album, I mean, we're just now into 2026, and you've had some, you've come a pretty good ways in that short period of time.
Yeah.
So tell us, like, what do you think it was about that album, particularly that kind of gave you that jump start?
It's such a fantastic question, because I feel like it's so raw and borderline, like, not right, if that makes any sense. Like, someone described it to me. It's like a songwriter playing with the wrong band. And I think I got a lot of people to listen to that record because how different it was, and how you kind of wish it was, like, you're craving something a little bit deeper with it. And I know that now. I didn't know that at the time, and I didn't know how to properly coordinate with the studio band. And Eric Massey, I think, might be a genius. So there's a degree of if I had more experience in the recording realm, I think we could have gotten some real damage done with that record. But in my personal experience, it fell a little bit short of really kicking the door down, but it definitely moved the meter for me in terms of standing out. And so we went from 2021 to 2023 releasing a string of singles. So that was that time gap of like, for me, by the time the album came out in 2023, it was old news, you know. And that actually
What do you
what's up?
Donovan, I see you on there. No, brother. He said we'll catch up with you soon, Donovan. We'll get you on here, man. Yeah, John. So I was going to ask you, what you sort of went into it anyway. It was actually something I was going to ask you is, what do you think that are some things, a thing or some things that you learned from that first album? Because it seems like everybody learned something from that first album. I think you were already kind of touching on it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was making the album just to make it, if that makes any sense. And I wasn't thinking about it as a stepping stool, and I wasn't thinking about it as a plan. And that was, I think, made the album way cooler than anything, you know, because if you're too wound up, you're going to probably not be able to make art in the fullest degree. But I was able to just go and cut loose and make a record that I was just expecting not to do anything. And that, I think, was the best part of that record that I like to listen to. But also, I wish I would have been more critical on certain elements of it, because that's what ended up taking. I think I got some really nice opportunities in 2024. And my live show and my performance overall was so much better than that album. And I had to live on that album. So it was weird to play a show and really do well and then say, like, here's my album. And I felt like I had already outgrown that album. And so that would be the lesson for me, is like, hey, you know, have fun, make art, but also you got to make sure you can sell this thing.
Yeah. So in saying all that, and then we'll move on from the album, but in saying all of that, one thing you could change if you had it ever to do again, would it just be like studio music wise, or what?
I just would have been a little bit more critical, you know, on like, okay, we need, maybe everyone's so afraid, at least in the rock world nowadays. I think this is not true 20 years ago, but certainly right now, if you're making a rock album, you don't want to overproduce it.
Yeah. And
so this was a very raw, kind of just from the heart album. And I think if I could go back, it's like, I would have loved to have really cleaned up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that would have taken away as much, but you know, I also think if I would have been in that headspace, probably wouldn't have that same album, you know?
Yeah. I see Karen just popped on and she said, I started following John in the summer of 24. I drove 4 hours and got a hotel for a bar gig in Michigan from Central Ohio.
Oh my goodness.
Thereafter.
Karen's our Ohio fan, our number one.
Oh man, let me see what Alex says. When you're recording in Nashville, how do you find it incorporating Louisiana roots as your inspiration compared to letting Nashville influence your writing or recording? That's a good question, Alex.
That is a good question. I don't think my first record was very Louisiana influenced. From my perspective, I think it was just songs I had been working on. Eric Massey was the one that just wanted to use the saxophone. He was like, it would be, if you listen to Saint Germain, the opening track, that is a saxophone going through a blues amp with a blues mic that's doubling on the electric guitar. It's a really bizarre sound. I remember just being blown away. We still can't replicate that. Like when we play that song live, it's got to be its own different thing. But Eric decided to do in Wild Eyes. We completely unbuttoned the entire like solo bridge section that I had, and we just decided to free float it. No click. We didn't record any of those songs to a metronome. which made it impossible to overdub. Certain things you could, but it, in the spirit of like a skeleton track, I found it impossible. So some things really blossomed. I think Wild Eyes was one of those songs that kind of turned into a little bit of a jam session in the middle of the song. And that is completely Eric Massey's kind of like headspace. And that became where I started studying the saxophone as kind of a slept on instrument,
So, soon after Hollier, from what I was gathering from reading and everything, soon after that release, you put together a touring band to kind of take the show on the road.
Yeah.
And the name you chose was the Rêverie, which is defined as the state of being pleasantly lost in one's thought, a daydream.
Oh, yeah.
A daydream. So why did you choose that name?
Well, I mean, we had actually a bunch of names to choose from. So we spent honestly a long time. It went from just the project was called Hollier. That's when I made that first record. It was not John Hollier. It was just Hollier. And I had in my mind, it was like, in order to play this record, it kind of needs to be a band. Excuse me. And we decided after we put the record out, on the release day, I didn't have an actual release show planned in Nashville. I decided we went to Whiskey Jam. We're like, we're putting an album out. We did the small room at House of Blues in New Orleans to do like, we'll get friends and family. Like it'll be a party. And Nashville, it's like, we're not going to try anything here. So we did Whiskey Jam. And it ended up being like an explosive show for me. Ward had posted a clip of the show online. And it got, within a day, 20,000, clicks. And it ended up, that was the projection point for me because I ended up the next week meeting with William Morris as an agent, and some of those guys wanted to talk more. From that release show, it went from I don't have a plan and so my manager's like, let's change this to John Hollier. And so I was like, wow. Oh, okay, that's probably a better idea. Well, it wasn't, because what ended up happening is that our live show kept growing and growing and growing. And it ended up being a lot of personalities on the stage, specifically the West Coast lead guitar player and the saxophone player. Those guys talking, it became bigger than myself. And we do a lot of rehearsing and writing together now. And that became the idea of Rêverie is the French word for the dream state. And I thought it was the best of all the names. It was the best description for where we are right now.
Yeah. So I saw where Ward said we maybe see a couple of shows like this once every year or so when he posted that video.
Man, yeah.
Dude, I mean, I don't know if anybody, I don't know. I know a lot of people, but I don't know if everybody watching this knows Whiskey Jam. But for that statement to be said that's a big statement, because some of the top talent in Nashville plays Whiskey Jam. That's a big deal, man. What did it make you feel like whenever you saw that?
Well, to be honest with you, I was kind of feeling like pretty down that this album I've been working on, we released a bunch of singles, and I realized I was like, in Nashville, it's really nothing has worked. And I was starting to regret some of the studio decisions. I was getting in my head about this. And we play that show. I tell you what, I put that band together. A lot of those guys, they were all friends. Every single one of those is friends. But I put that band together. We rehearsed that day. And we drove from the rehearsal space, pulled right up, played Whiskey Jam, and then we left. And I remember it was so much adrenaline. And I never knew that we played a great show. I literally left there still kind of like mad at the world. And we had a lot of people afterwards saying we did great, but it's a lot of friends. So it's like they were going to say that whether we bombed or not, And it wasn't until the next morning. I remember working on a post to be like, thank you all. It was a great night. And I saw that Whiskey Jam had tagged me in it. And I was like, man, this footage is awesome. People were jumping. It was great. It was an electric moment for me. And that's when I realized, I was like, I think we knocked this out of the park. And that's when, it's funny how it's a switch. It's a light switch sometimes that I got all kinds of emails. I met several publishers. I had 2 meetings with record labels, the A&R team. We had 2 booking agents reach out, and it was like, you know, where was this? Like, we've been playing that same show for 2 years now. And it's just funny how the internet can give you that surge, you know?
No doubt, man. And a cheap plug for Louisiana country music. You'll be playing with us again.
Oh, we coming
next Monday night at Whiskey Jam. So it'll kind of be full circle, which will be really cool, man. And I've seen some of the haven't caught your show yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys play next Monday night. I'm really excited about that. That'll be a fun night for us all.
Oh man, yeah, I'm fired up.
You said that the live show is where you found your identity. What do you think was missing before the live show, and what do you think is different now when you're talking about your identity?
I think I've always liked my songwriting, but it's always been a little quirky at times, and I try to be like I try and you know. I don't think anyone tries to be quote unquote vanilla, but I definitely want it to be weird at times. And I like storytelling, so creating characters but the songwriting, you know, there's not a lot of people lining up to cut songs like that, you know? So the live show was certainly where I was able to grow in ways that I felt like I was able to compete, like truly, you know, we've shared the stage with some incredible bands. And I felt like we could hang with some of those bands. And I think like I do marvel over songwriters in Nashville. You know, a lot of them are from Louisiana, and like writing songs with those guys, I could study them for 10 years and never have that brain. But I feel like live music was where I just have been playing for so long and learning from some truly incredible people that I felt like I really had a right hook at times, you know, and that became the identity. It's like, well, we got a really good live show, and that presents problems if that's the best you've got. But I certainly feel like when we play live, it's like we can turn faces, you know?
Yeah, I have no doubt in that, just from some videos I checked out. Up to this point in your young career, what are a couple of songs that you feel like have really resonated with your followers?
Oh, well, I mean, for starters, Devil's in the Details was a song that I was watching Mindhunters on Netflix, and there was one of the serial killers was it was like a mix of True Detective, Mindhunters. I started piecing together like a really like a story, just trying to build a story. It's a couple of different people involved in the story, but I wrote that song, never thought of anything really of it. But the chorus is just repetitive. Oh, it don't bother me. Oh, it's from the victim's perspective. And that song live just crushes. It's one of those songs where, you know, it's so much energy. It's really loud. It's a jumper song. It's just so much fun to play live. And I'm so thankful to have just been messing around with that kind of stupid concept one day and wrote that because it ends up being a song that really helps if we haven't won over a crowd. It's like, well, I'm going to throw the book at this last one and see if it works. And chances are there a couple of people will dig it.
Yeah. Is that one of your staples in your live show?
It's one of those that it's like probably for the foreseeable future, I can't get rid of. You know, and in Poster Child was a song guitar player Zach Klein and I wrote with Alden Hedges from American Aquarium, like really good songwriter. I've got 3 songs with Alden, 2 of them unrecorded, but incredible stuff. And Poster Child was kind of a New Orleans like boogie woogie thing, and that was also a song that Zach and I were working on. And we noticed live, like people like the energy, they like the cadence, and that's where the Cajun music comes in. It's like cadence, and there's this like kind of like clock-like rhythm at times. And we started like, okay, let's hone in on this, and then it became like just straight up blues song. And Alden came in. Within an hour of just hanging out talking, we wrote just a kind of a silly song. And it is, you throw the saxophone in there and it is just gasoline on fire for, in a live show.
Yeah, I jammed to it a little bit earlier while I was prepping for the show and everything. That was one of the ones that I was listening to in the background and kind of had me pumped. So,
but shake your hips a little bit.
Yeah. So you've got a new album called Rainmaker coming out. It says March 20th.
Yeah.
What can fans expect from this new project?
Oh my goodness! So it's a patchwork quilt of the situation leaving 2023 going into 2024. We were thrown into so many live music situations, I'll call them, and the project grew immensely. And we immediately, with 30 Tigers, picked us up, and we went to Memphis with Matt Ross Spang. We recorded a style of music, definitely in that New Orleans, like mid-century, like Fats Domino-esque, like kind of in that headspace. And then we sat on those songs for, 8 to 10 months. A lot of it was out of my control. And they sent us to Seattle with Ryan Hadlock to try and get like 2 different producers to try and find the story. And then we sat on those songs for a couple of months. And so I went with Gabe, Robin, and Elliot Blafis here in Nashville. Just some buddies, like, hey, I got a couple more songs. I don't know if we're releasing any of this stuff. Like, let's just put it out. And that's where If She's Lonely is somewhere down the road and Holding Too Tight. And a couple of songs came out of that. And I think we had hit our streak by that point. And so like the style, it's a little bit of a piecemeal work of an album, but it takes in kind of a lot of New Orleans kind of blues rock on purpose. Like we had spent a lot of time there and kind of absorbed a lot of that sound, but it's a lot of, my storytelling, my songwriting. We got away from the saxophone on some songs and did some harmonica, steel guitar-y stuff. It's kind of just a blend. We've been calling it Louisiana rock and roll, or like a Gulf Coast Springsteen thing. Like, it's a lot. I think but you have to listen down for it to make sense. It's cohesive in a concept.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. I read this, and I don't know if this was this album or a past album. I don't even know if it's true because it's the internet, but I read this. It said that you took your touring band into the studio instead of hiring session players.
Yeah, the Rainmaker is all my touring band.
What went into that? I know a lot of people out there may not know that the guys that you see on live shows aren't always the guys that you hear on the album. They have session players in Nashville who are amazing and all of that, just for the listeners who don't know. And so this is sort of a unique thing to take your touring guys into the studio. So what went into that thought process?
Yeah, it kind of was. We went out with the old 97s for a whole month. So we did a ton of shows right after our release, Hollier, the first record. And we really got tight as a band. I think just personally, but also as an ecosystem, I think I watched the songs that I used the studio band with in a really, really good producer. I watched those songs blossom into things that I didn't know they could go certain places. And the harmony section, the drummer, Brian Cox, is a phenomenal singer. And we were able to really arrange these harmonies. Ray Akers was playing bass, and the 3-part harmony was beautiful. In my opinion, at times it was beating out the record, and the guitar parts and saxophone parts kind of had to just change because they couldn't replicate those performances on the record, and it grew. And I went in time for a studio time, and I was like, I don't know if I trust anyone else right now other than these guys. And admittedly, like, having seen it all holistically now, like I think some things took a hit and some things were better than they could have been,
How do you think the feel of the project ended up because of that decision?
I think like there was an identity crisis a little bit by so much outside personality coming in. And I think some of the original singles in Memphis and Seattle probably would have been tighter. It's had studio members played it, but they would have lacked a lot of the personality that I think is actually, that's the main entree, is not the clean, sleek, vocals, background vocals, guitar, drums. It's like, I think we could have used some help with keyboard and piano and some of that realm. But I think the personality, I look on fondly when I listen to this new record,
Yeah, I dig that. I love you that you just tried that. That's pretty awesome. And I'm sure that it'll sound. I don't know. It's just that capture that sound that you guys are doing on the stage every night. There's something really cool to that.
Yeah. Well, I also found I was profoundly inspired by a lot of the mid-century, New Orleans rock and roll and Swamp Gold stuff coming out of, South Louisiana. And a lot of that stuff was very raw, very, I'm a big American Aquarium fan. I love Houndmouth. I love some of these bands that have been doing essentially a really, really, really sleek and an elite bar band. And I wanted to channel that. And I think the risk was maybe we don't get the sleek recording. But the perk of this for me personally was I have a record that there's a lot of fingerprints on, but I know those guys, they deserved the opportunity, but also they brought it. They really did.
Yeah. Tell us, so this Friday, right? Is that a song called Crashing that's going to come out off the album?
Yeah, a song called Crashing. I
Tell
wrote
us a little bit.
Yeah, I wrote it with Bart Butler, who has gotten to be a friend. Like I'm a big fan of a lot of the work he had produced. My name's leaving me right now. But he had done a lot of great work in Nashville, so it was a big write for me. And so we went in there, and Bart's from Texas. He's got that kind of kick the door down personality. Got a coffee mug that's a pistol grip, like it's a weapon. and so Bart was like, I got an idea for a song. It's Crashing Like a Drunk. I was like, okay. And I was like, can you tell me more? He's like, I don't want slow and sad. I want sleek and sexy. And I was like, okay, we got this. So I was listening to a lot of specifically at this time, I was in the headspace of we're doing more kind of mid-century rock and roll at the time. So I was listening to Clifton Chenier stuff, where it's kind of like the waltzy stuff, really, really light on the ride cymbal and the snare. So I was like, okay, in my head, I'm imagining that beat, in 6/8, and I had the chords and just kept looping them. And we just wrote this song from the perspective of, we were traveling a lot in the hotel rooms. And so Bart was throwing out a lot of it's like, okay, we can sell this. The hotel room, the sad drunk, missing you girl. But Bart has a really exceptional way of weaving lyrics in. So we ended up getting a lot of these great kind of Nashville lines. And I took it to the band, and we added the kind of classic Swamp Gold saxophone support. And Brian and Ray had a really doing all the background vocals, the oohs and ahs, you would hear on some of that. And so we just totally leaned in, Brian Halleck produced in Seattle, and I sent it to Bart, and he was like, well, this is sad. And I was like, it was supposed to be sad and sexy. And it's supposed to be, sleek and sexy, and it ended up really sad. So we did not accomplish what originally we had wanted to with the song, but it was so important to me to have a lot of space, and really Ryan Halleck did a particularly good job on this song. For my opinion, I can't imagine hearing it without him doing it, because if you listen to the drums at parts, you can almost hear the dust. It's so clean and sleek. And we did it at Bear Creek in Seattle. An incredible job. And the guitar parts were very meticulous. We spent a lot of time on that. And Teddy did a trio horn section thing himself, different placements on the mic. And it's cool. You know, it's one of those things. I don't know the genre because I don't think the genre has existed for 60 years, but it's, you know, it's that thing where I'm really proud of the song. And I think you can see yourself, you know, in that Swamp Gold, you know, I-10 corridor area with this song in particular.
Yeah, and we don't have much longer. I'm not going to keep you on here. I know you've got somewhere to go tonight after this, but and with the risk of nerding out for a minute musically, but I think that our listeners will hang in. But you mentioned on your site that your Cajun roots show up in your music from time to time, and I think you were kind of getting into that a little bit. What are some examples of some ways that you sort of incorporate that Cajun roots feel into your music when it's appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And I always like to throw in some like Cajun one-liners, like if I can, you know, and mix in like Rainmaker, the song itself. You know, definitely like Ashante, the coup de grace, like the mercy kill. Like I like deified this woman in this song, and she's killing you. A lot of Cajun music would do like it's their laments. It's so gut wrenchingly heartbreaking. Well, I was like, well, this is not sad. This is pathetic. Like I love that element of it. And so Rainmaker is the goddess, and she, you know, you're begging for the mercy kill to coup de grace. And I wanted to throw in other lines as well. We wrote a song, or I wrote a song. My cousin, Jonathan Olivier in Lafayette, helped me. He's very fluent in Cajun. But we wrote Mort on Low. I've been listening to a lot of kind of more traditional, like really throwback Cajun songs. And so in our sets, we always play it. It's called Mort on Low, Dead in the Water. I was feeling particularly like, it's from the perspective of the guy, his heart's broken. But it really was about, I felt like at my career at the time, like it was like, I just felt like I was just kind of just floating aimlessly. And so I wrote it and sent my cousin, he kind of redlined it, and we got the French lyrics there, but we do a whole Cajun French song in our shows now. And Ted, it's really cool. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I feel like if you come see John Elliott in the Rêverie, you're going to hear, we're going to do some Cajuns. We do the DL Menard sometimes if we have a longer show. So like trying to add those elements into the mix. You know, my grandma always used to say like, "Tu fais fini," like your party's done. I don't know if anybody's still there.
We're waiting on his internet to pop back on. Sorry there, John. You couldn't hear me there. There he is. He popped back in.
I'm
Here
back,
we go.
baby. I'm back.
He's back and ready.
I'm sorry, guys. I got to get my internet plugged in. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, you good? You good? I was just rambling, man.
I love that though, man, about the incorporating that into the shows. I was going to ask if anybody comes to your show, what do you hope that they go and tell people?
You know, I think by design, I want people to feel like, you know, it's what you would see if you saw a band in the 70s, you know, like a lot of that, you know, the canon of music's already written. So everything is just compared to things these days. So it's like, well, if we're going to be compared to something, you know, can't reinvent plugging in a guitar amp and singing. Like it's been done really well now. So it's like, well, I want people to feel like, oh, that must have been like what it was like to see some of these great 70s rock bands. That is what I tell our guys, you know, is play like your heroes, you know.
I love it, dude. I'm getting pumped up, excited to see you guys next Monday.
Yeah, we're fired up, man.
We're getting up on 8. Yeah, man. We're getting up on 8, man, and my internet. Dude, my internet's killing me over here.
You're good, man.
But yeah, we're getting up on 8, man, and my internet seems to be acting crazy, man. But real quick, man, if my internet holds in, what are some things that you miss about Louisiana when you're gone?
Oh man, I would say the food, but I try not to eat the food anymore. I gotta stay. They say the camera adds 50 pounds. So it's like, well, try not to eat the food anymore. But just the people. Like you up here in Nashville and traveling, I miss things. I miss events. I miss the people. So that's just it. Like I crave that at times. Is going back and just sitting and stewing.
Do you get to come home often?
I try, not as often as I'd like, but I think the good thing is that now people want more Louisiana content out of me. It's like, it's kind of a good excuse for me to just go hang out with my folks and just be down there a little bit more.
Dude, it's not a bad place, man. Bubba Plochet, before we get out of here, Bubba says, John, great interview. Loved hearing your story. And then Alex had one question before I wanted to ask you this before I get you out of here, man. He said, what's the change like going from a self-managed artist to dealing with agents, managers, artist development guys? Any tips for the up-and-coming guys navigating that space in the future? Great question.
Man, it's just pressure. It's immense, because it's not just about you showing up. I think that's easy. I think it's easy to stay excited and see opportunities. It's a lot of stuff just not in your control. It's like, is someone going to listen to this song I put out on Friday? I can't answer that question. You have to just hope, and there's a degree of with a show, is someone going to buy a ticket? I have no idea. I can remind people, but that's the difference. Self-managing is like, I let myself down, but it's like, if I drop the ball on a show or a song, it's like, it's kind of a 360 degree, like, man, I feel that, I need to figure out I need to make this work, So just knowing, having a good headspace, knowing to control, the things you can, like you really, really go after them,
Man, somebody told me a long time ago, control what you can control and pray about the rest. And that's easier said than done, but it's a hell of a formula.
There's a lot,
Yeah. Well, man, how can people follow you on socials?
John Hollier Music, John Hollier in the Rêverie. Is the band and the album. So Instagram, it's John Hollier Music. I think it's probably the same on Facebook. TikTok, John Hollier in the Rêverie. YouTube, John Hollier in the Rêverie.
All right, bro. Well, sorry my internet's acting up, man, but I definitely appreciate you coming on and hanging tonight, man. I enjoyed it, learning more of your story and getting to hear some of the behind the scenes about the music, because the music is so unique and interesting. And I'm looking forward to next week, dude. We'll be hanging.
Ronnie, I can't wait. Thanks, man. Thanks, Alex.
All right. Sounds good, brother. I'll see you soon, man.
All right, man.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. If so, sorry about my internet. I'm plugging directly in next week. This is my last time going wireless, I promise. I'll be plugged in directly. So anyway, if you enjoyed, make sure to tune in every Tuesday night at 7. Make sure to follow, like, share, comment. Help us show the world what people like John and all these other country music artists from Louisiana are all about. God bless all the Louisiana folks out there. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next Tuesday night right here on Louisiana Country Music Live.